What's up, YouTube? All right, so I'm back out here off of Illif Street. I wanted to show you the building progress on this house, all right? I've been dropping off lumber over here. So this is 740 Illif Street, this empty lot. I wanted to show you how quickly they're throwing this frame up. I know you guys are really interested in the rebuilding process and stuff like that. Oh, sorry, let me zoom out. You guys are really interested in how quickly these houses are getting built. And once you got all the permits and you got all the right equipment and everything done, and all the permits and everything's processed and in the pipeline, the building process can go pretty quickly. They can throw a frame up pretty quick. You saw that. That frame was up in, I don't know how many months, a couple of months. It's getting the approvals, getting the permits, getting the licenses, paying the fees, doing all that. That takes forever. Anything to do with the government, that's the real problem. The problem is the government and all the rules and regulations. It's not the building part. These builders, they can throw a house up quick. That's not the hard part. I don't know if this lot's actually, I don't think it's been sold yet. This is 755 Illif Street. It's been for sale. I don't know what it's going for, but these guys are digging out. Deeper is cheaper. They're going deep. These guys are gonna build a big old basement in there. Deeper is cheaper. What's up, brother? I'm good, how are you? How's it going? You guys working hard? Yeah. There you go, brother. Hardly working, player. All right, so we're back on Illif and Drummond Street, all right? There's a bunch of lots all around here that are up for sale. Let's see. We'll go over here. Check this. They put that second story up on that house pretty quick. You know, I was in Malibu the other day, actually earlier today, and I was speaking with a builder, and he was really good friends with the homeowner, and apparently the property was only worth $33 million, right? That's what the appraised value was. And a year before the fire, he had his insurance policy canceled. So the only thing that he was able to get was the California Fair Plan, according to that guy. I don't know how true it is, but it makes sense considering the fact that the insurance companies were, canceling policies left and right in these areas. But anyways, so the guy had a $33 million property, right? But only $3 million worth of insurance. He got a check for $3 million from the California Fair Plan. Like, what are you supposed to do with that? That's the guy's floors. $3 million is the cost of his floors. His imported tile floors from Italy. He's out. He's out 27 or 30 million bucks. And most people can't afford to lose that. They put everything they have into their homes. Not everything, but a lot of people do. A lot of these rich people do. They put a lot of money. These homes are like piggy banks for them. Every year they just go up in value. And whenever they need liquidity, whenever they need cash, they just pull out some money. I'm not sure if they're doing that now with interest rates being, 7 and 8%, but could you imagine being in that kind of predicament? Having a $33 million property and only getting a check from the insurance California Fair Plan for $3 million because that's what it's capped at. Oh my God. Those are the problems that the global elite have to deal with. And pretty soon, I showed you guys a bunch of YouTube short videos where they're building that house on the ocean right there on the beach, and it cost $10 million and $10 million, and it took them 3 years just to put in the caissons and the piles. How many people do you think in Malibu have 10 million bucks and 3 years to wait just to put in the caissons in the ground? And there's hundreds of homes along the ocean that burn to the ground. I don't think that number is very high. I think maybe at the most 10% of the people, you know, have that kind of money. I think what you're gonna see is some billionaires swoop up a bunch of lots. They're gonna try to get 4, 5, 6 lots all in a row and pay. They're gonna pay top dollar for it too, because it is some pristine land right on the beach in Malibu. And you can imagine what some of those properties were worth, you know. And if you had your insurance policy canceled on you, oh my God, and all you could get was the California Fair Plan, $3 million worth of coverage on a house that's worth, I don't know, 50 million bucks right on the beach, you know, or whatever it is. Like, I don't know. I'm just throwing out numbers, but Jesus Christ, that'll ruin your life. That'll ruin you financially for the rest of your life. You know, it could. It could. What a predicament to be in. What a predicament to be in. As you guys can see, they're picking up these lots pretty quickly. God, that guy dusted me out. Look at these roads too, by the way, they're shot. They're gonna have to repave all the roads, redo all the everything. What has it been? It's been like 5 months already. All right, so we're on Cary Street and we're on Galloway. All right, you got another property for sale. I think it's a new one. I haven't seen this lot for sale yet. Let's go check it out. Let's see what the address is. And I think that the majority of these lots, what you're going to see is, I really believe that the reason why they're selling is because the insurance companies aren't giving them enough money to rebuild. That's really all it comes down to. This is 911 Galloway Street. I think that's really all. So, you can imagine if the majority of properties that are for sale or lots that are for sale are just because the insurance companies aren't really paying enough to rebuild. God, you can imagine they're going to get hit with lawsuits. I bet you the insurance companies are getting sued like no other right now. It's just unfair, really. And now that we know State Farm got approved for a 17% rate increase, insurance prices are going up. And apparently, they wanted a 30% rate increase. But Ricardo Laura only allowed them to raise rates by 17%. On top of them raising rates the year prior to the fire. And next year, they're gonna be going up again. Okay, so you got another property for sale right here. I don't know the address of this one. It doesn't have one of those little sticks in the ground. It looks like you got another lot. I don't know if it was for sale or if it is for sale, but it's got one of these little posts in the ground, so I don't think it's for lease. Let's see. This is 954 Galloway Street. I love the American flag. That's really cool. It's always nice to see the American flag. It really is. It does something to me every time I see it. Makes my day a little bit better. I think that's really cool. The flag still up and about during all this chaos and darkness and devastation. window got like punched or something. I'd be pissed too. All right, so we're on Hartzell and Bashford, and we're gonna go down Hartzell Street. I know you guys have been down here before. You guys have probably been down here a bunch. But I think it's good to come back every once in a while and just continue to show you guys the progress that's being made. And there is a lot of progress being made when it comes to picking up the lots. But obviously, like you can see, some of these lots haven't been picked up. A lot of them actually haven't, but I'd say the majority of the lots are picked up now. But like I said, I've told you guys this numerous times, it's not the cleanup. The cleanup's gonna be a breeze. You don't have to worry about the cleanup. Getting a bulldozer and a couple of hard-working paisa's to start blowing down walls and picking up debris, that's easy. These boys will have this lot picked up in a couple of hours once you got all the equipment prepped and ready to roll. It's the building part. It's getting the permits, getting the processes, paying the fees, getting the licenses, getting the contractor, you know, getting a reputable contractor. I think people fail to acknowledge how important that is too. There's a lot of scumbags out there. You know, you'll give them a check and you'll never see them again. This is 930 Hartzell Street. That's a big problem in Los Angeles. I don't know if it's just Los Angeles or if it's on a nationwide basis, but there's a lot of scumbags out there. You give these people money and next thing you know, they're gone. They go to Tijuana and you never see them again with a big old juicy check for 40, 50 grand. Adios, amigo. So I'd be very careful when giving people money. I want to make sure that they're reputable, licensed, bonded, insured. You know, there's gonna be a lot of fraud and a lot of people who get exploited in this tragedy. It's just the name of the game, and that includes the insurance companies. I'm sure there's so much insurance fraud going on right now, it'll blow your mind. It's really for a scumbag, it's the perfect opportunity to take advantage because there's so many claims. You know, you could get away with it. So, whether or not you agree with it, I don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's gonna happen. So we're back on Cary, and I don't know what street this is. I lose track of where I am for the most part. I'm not a Palisadian. I don't actually live here in the Palisades. I can't afford it. I live in the valley, which is still really expensive. So this is probably, living in the Palisades is probably 3 times more expensive than where I live. And I'll just say all of the houses in my neighborhood are $1 million plus. Let's just say that. Which isn't saying much. You got teardowns in Pacoima that are going for $1 million. So $1 million used to be a lot. Now it's nothing. That property still needs to get picked up. Oh, we're on Hartzell Street. That's where we're at. You know, as you guys look around, there's no building being, there's nothing being built. Nothing. All right. And you're probably not going to see anything being built for quite some time. The only property that you are seeing built is that one that I showed you in the beginning of the video. And, the reason being is they probably had licenses and permits and all of that stuff and a contractor with paperwork already done and ready to roll prior to the fire, So you're not going to see too much building going on for quite some time. There is another one off of Via de la Paz. It's a commercial property though. So same thing. It's very, very safe to assume that the building process was in the pipeline before the fire. you know, or the remodeling process or whatever it is that needs to get done, all of that, the paperwork and the fees and the title and the all that, whatever it is, all of that stuff, permitting process got taken care of before the fires. But as soon as I start seeing some building going up, trust me, I'll be the first one to show you guys. Oh, there's a building over there off in the distance to the right. I don't know what it is, but they threw up a frame pretty quick. So I hope the city laxes on their building process or permitting process. You know, they really should cut these people a break. But then again, some people, you know, as messed up as it is to say, a lot of people that aren't so fortunate, they come into these neighborhoods and they're glad. They're glad your house burned to the ground because they've worked really hard their whole life and have failed. So there's a lot of people out there in this world that see this tragedy, and believe it or not, they're happy. They're glad your house burned to the ground, as messed up as it is. And it's probably just because of jealousy or whatever it is. There's a lot of haters out there, and they're happy to see you fail. Because potentially when you fail, that's the opportunity for them to succeed. That's the way that works. There's always going to be a winner. There's always going to be a loser. When you fail, others win. So it sucks, but it's just the way the world is, right? Anyways, go back to here. Close it back on Illif. Check this out. Yeah, digging a big old hole down there. There's that house, that famous house over there. I suspect these guys are going to have a lot of business in the future going forward, and rightfully so. Obviously, what they did was right. They did something right there, that's for sure. Not the best looking home. There's some, but it's still not an ugly home. That's a bitchin' house to me. I think it looks great. But from a fire standpoint, that's it. It's the way you gotta do it. That's the way you gotta build from here on out. Sorry. All right, guys. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.